Good afternoon, YouTubers. Welcome back into another edition of Astros Recap. David Artis back at it here to break things down for you once again. A little later today than I wanted to do it. It is 1:45 p.m. Not too late. Usually it's between the 2 to 3 p.m. hour. Astros earlier start time, obviously, in Tampa Bay. I believe that's a 5:30, 5:40 first pitch. So try to get this out. Usually 3 hours is the goal. 3 hours before first pitch of the next game. And the Astros haven't had any Mondays off thus far. So, it makes it a little tougher, I guess, to get these out. But, the goal is to, yes. And obviously past videos, past years, I should say, my videos usually come out Sunday night has been the goal. But we talked about this, before the season started. Monday is going to be my usual day. Because Sundays aren't, I don't have as much time as I used to on Sundays after I get off work. So anyway, good week for the Astros. This is the first week we actually get to speak well about the Houston Astros because they went 5-1 and they played two very good teams. Toronto, you can make what you want there, whether you think they're good or not. Obviously, you look at the lineup on paper, it's very good. They weren't like setting the world on fire. But they still have a pretty good record. It's a good team. Yeah, I picked them to win the East. Okay, but we'll wait and see there. But yeah, taking 2 or 3 at home was huge, and then obviously going on the road sweeping Atlanta was even bigger. Atlanta, I think, had the best record in the National League until we went into their home ballpark, Truist Field there, or Truist Park, Truist Field, Truist Park, Truist Field sounds right, yeah. But going there and sweeping them was big. So, yeah, very, very happy and satisfied with what the Astros were able to do this week. Exceeded the expectations. Usually I'm always about winning series, and if you can win your series, there's nothing to really complain about. But getting the sweep was big. Obviously, winning the first 2, and then Sunday was just a game to try to really put your foot on their throat. And every game was competitive, and the Astros really, every game it was the late innings where they came back and really did their work. So, Alvarez, can't keep him down too long. He had a stretch there where it seemed like a week and a half where he wasn't doing a whole lot, and then he showed up over the weekend. So, but we'll talk about a few things. I think Bregman's also coming around a little bit. He had a few hits. With Bregman, obviously we know the issues I have with Alex Bregman, but if he can start to get things going, I'm not going to complain. But we'll talk about a few things here, bullpen-wise. So the Astros' record now is at 12-10. So you look at that, and it's like, well, that's not that great. But they were struggling. They've won 4 in a row going into tonight. Obviously, this week is not going to be a whole lot easier. As they got 3 with Tampa, off day Thursday. And I think they come back home. I could be wrong, but I think they come back home and play the Phillies for 3. So, and the Phillies haven't they're okay, but they're not great. So, Tampa, obviously, they're undefeated at home. They're 13-0 at home this year. So, the Astros definitely should have their hands full this week. So, but to take it game by game, so, Monday's game, and my last podcast, for those that watched it, I was very, I went on a rant because a lot of things bothered me with the lineup, the way Dusty Baker was constructing the lineup. Abreu was just, I just couldn't believe how terrible he had been. Bregman obviously was, but there was just so many things. That was also after the Sunday game where they got absolutely mammoth by Texas, and losing that series was hard to deal with. But we're gonna pull things up here the best way I can. This app always it works. It's just they changed it, and you update the software, and it's just not the way it used to be. So things are tougher to get to. But I do know Monday they came out swinging early. They put up 7 runs in the first inning. So after that point, going forward, it was just, Javier, go your 5 innings, get the win. And as long as we don't screw things up terribly, we should be good. They win that game 9-2. that was an important start for Javier because he sort of has gone back and forth between good start, bad start, good start, bad start. So he was sort of that was his fourth start of the year. You look up the ERA, 2-0, 3.68. Actually, he pitched yesterday, so I'll get you a more updated ERA, but that was pretty good. Obviously, first inning, Jake Myers had a big 3-run home run, so something we hadn't seen for a while. And Jolks had a big RBI double, I believe. But yeah, we just hit around, and it was a great start after what happened to them against the Rangers just the night before. So it's good to bounce back. And off Kevin Gossman, who's one of the better Toronto starters. That was good to see. Tuesday's game, not so great. I finally gave her. I talk about Jose Urquidy and how good he's been and how I feel like he's sort of underrated. He goes out, doesn't have a great start. So he does start tonight, so a chance to bounce back. But we gave up 4 runs. Urquidy only got through 4 1/3, but all 4 runs earned. Walked 2, struck out 4. Gave up 2 home runs, I believe, to Guerrero and Chapman. If I'm not, see if I can see that here. I might have to go to summary for that. Let's see. Yeah, Guerrero and Chapman hit 2 solo home runs. Espinal scored on a single, I believe. Scored 2 runs or 3. I might get in the 4th, but 4-2. The Astros did battle back, scored a few runs in the 8th inning, but that was it. Couldn't do much more than that. I don't know why this. I just don't like. I don't like the way they constructed this app. It's just not easy to maneuver. Anyway, 4-2, not a good game. Let's see if I can find some of the pictures for you here. Abreu came in, got 5 outs, struck out 2. Abreu's been their best reliever. I think that's clear. It was hard to gauge his bullpen, the way it's been at. But we're going to talk about Wednesday's game where Abreu was huge. But Abreu's been their best reliever, I think, yeah, hands down. Well, I might explain one guy here in a minute, but we'll get to that. Artis, bounce back. Montero, Presley. I mean, Dusty's going to use the same guys, I feel like. If you're tied or you're leading late innings, close game, it's going to be some combination of Artis, Montero, Abreu. Presley's been down the last few days, so I don't know what the issue there. Presley seems to always be dealing with something. It never ends, I feel like. I just don't get it. It's always dealing with something. You think about it. I mean, you think about all the little nagging injuries he's had. Whether it's been I think he was sick earlier. He couldn't pitch a few games. I don't know what his issue is now. He was wiggling his hand opening day. He's had issues with the pitch clock. He's had knee issues here before. I just feel like with Presley, it's always something. There's always something that's not right with Presley. So, But Wednesday, the final score here was 8-1. So you look at that and you're like, well, yeah, it's just cruise to victory. Not so much. They did score 2 runs, and those were both responsible by Jake Myers. I think Myers has done perfectly fine with McCormick out. And this is what I wanted to see from Myers. I wanted to see Myers get an opportunity because the way it works with Chaz is if Jake Myers has a start where he's bad, they go right back to Chaz McCormick. Like, you can't give a guy... I mean, you're putting a lot of pressure on somebody like that if you're like, all right, I'll give you 4 at-bats, and if you go 0 for 4, we're going right back to Chaz. And that's what it felt like the first week of the season. You put Chaz in the IL. I know he's dealing with the vision issues. I don't know his status, but I do like what Jake Myers is providing, especially at the bottom of the order. I think he's done great. And he's in a position where there's not a lot of pressure on him because he could just go out there knowing that there's nobody, on his heels ready to play, and he can just go out there and relax, and I think he's done a great job. I think with Myers, it's just getting the confidence back. If he can get the confidence back and he can relax, he doesn't have a great arm out in center field, but other than that, I mean, he's shown pop. I think he can hit. He does run well. I mean, he can track down fly balls in the outfield. We've seen that, but, Myers was sort of the plan. We saw Myers come up in 2021, and we saw what he did. He looked like the future center fielder. He showed a lot of promise. It was just unfortunate with the injury, but I think that now, getting the consistent at-bats and playing every day, he's looked like he's starting. I mean, it's not all put together yet, but I do see signs that tell me that Jake Myers is turning back into the guy that we hoped he was going to be. And, I've been on Jake Myers, and, this was his sort of last chance. Give him 40 or whatever, however many at-bats it is, 40, 50, whatever it might be, and then reevaluate. If there was nothing there, then you can move on and go to McCormick. But I wanted to see him get consistent plate appearances, and now we see it, and we actually see him producing well. So Jake Myers is not going anywhere, and we'll see. I don't know McCormick's status when he comes back, but Jake Myers has done enough to prove that he should stay on this big league roster and start more often than not. We'll have to wait and see on that. But to talk about this game, so yeah, 2 runs, both by a 2-run double by Myers. And, I mean, shoot, Garcia, who, their worst starter in the rotation, ERA like close to 8 going into this game, was fantastic. So he really stepped up. 7 innings, or no, that's Barrios. Go back to Garcia. 7 innings, 2 hits, no runs, walked 1, struck out 9. He was great. So that was a great start for Garcia to really show up after the first 3 starts were pretty bad. So, but Montero really struggled here. I don't know what to make of Montero. I see some consistency issues early on for him, but he didn't get out. 2 hits, 2 walks, allowed a run, and then he took him out. The bases loaded, nobody out. You have a 1-run lead, and you're bringing in Abreu, who Montero needed to get out of that game, but you're putting Abreu in a position to fail basically, and Abreu didn't. He not only cleaned up the mess that Montero left him, but he also got out of the inning. There was a line drive caught. That was sort of luck by Bregman at third. It wasn't luck that he caught the ball. It was just bad luck on Springer's part because he hit a ball that, looked like it was going to be a double into the corner, and Bregman was able to snatch it out of the air there. But the strikeout, Abreu showing that he's the 8th inning guy, at least in my eyes. See if Dusty Baker realizes that. And then Presley was warming up for the save. The Astros erupted and really opened it up. Excuse me. Really opened it up in the 8th inning as they put up 6 runs in the 8th there. Pena. Yeah, Pena hits meaningless home runs, I feel like, at this point. Pena's been a guy that you can really get on. But Abreu had a big... This was all with 2 outs and nobody on, by the way, as well. But Abreu had a 2-run single that gave him the insurance, and then Pena the big, 3-run home run, I believe. Yeah. See, when I go to summary in the ballpark app, it should give me every run scored. It doesn't do that anymore. That's something else that's strange. But winning the series there was big. Off day Thursday, you go into Friday. Astros got off to a bad start. Hunter Brown, liked what he's done, was not very good as he gave up. After the Astros scored an early run in the first, he gave up 4 in the bottom half. Now, he did battle through the rest. He got through like 5 innings, whatever it was, but did a good job at least getting through that, giving the offense a chance there. And the offense finally came alive in the 7th, scoring 3 runs. Myers, once again, right in the middle of that sort of rally there. I also liked to see Yainer Diaz get a few hits in that game as well. I'd like to see him get some more playing time. Quote unquote, he can play first base, right? Well, we never see it. So, even yesterday, Hensley, who, small sample size, doesn't play a lot because Dubon's just been out of his mind right now. So Dubon's getting all the starts at second base, rightfully so. But Hensley plays first base, which isn't terrible, but I'd like to see Yainer Diaz get a few starts at first. Like, again, I said this last week. If I'm the manager and I'm putting together my lineup card, I'm not playing Jose Abreu at first. I am DHing him. If you have to play him at first because Alvarez is DHing, I can get down with that. If you have to do that. But he likes to play Alvarez in left field. Alvarez gets a lot of starts in left field. When that is the case, Abreu should be the DH, no question. But I really, to be quite honest, from Friday's game, I wasn't feeling good. It's 4-1. Astros just had opportunities, actually, which bothered me even more. Because they had opportunities to put multiple runs on the board earlier in the game. They just couldn't do it. So that bothered me. But they finally got, the big hits in the seventh inning. If it will show me all these runs, which for some reason the summary app doesn't do it, but yeah, Diaz had a RBI double. Myers had an RBI single. And yeah, Dubon had a double that tied it at 4. And then obviously the big Jordan home run off of AJ Minter. I remember the 2021 World Series, and I remember Will Smith and AJ Minter being the two lefties in the bullpen that were just unhittable. Minter specifically. But the Astros, Jordan Alvarez owned Minter in this series. I only faced him twice, but he came through both times. Big 2-run home run there to give him the win. Presley did get the save there, so I will say that. But Presley, after this game, was shut down for whatever reason. I don't know, to be quite honest with you. I don't know his issue. But like yesterday, for instance, Abreu closed out the game. He also did that Saturday. So, but yeah, Hunter Brown goes 4 2/3. Not a great start, obviously, 4 under runs, but I don't like to give, like when a guy gives up 5 runs in the first inning and then like gets you through 5 or 6 to eat up the innings, that's not a good start. I mean, unless your offense went out there and absolutely killed it, but I mean, you don't give up 5 runs and have a good start at any point. So it's sort of the way I look at Brown here. But he did keep it at least in striking distance. That's the key there. And the Astros did capitalize eventually, getting the win. Presley gets a save, Naris hold, Stanek hold. Phil Maton's the guy I wanted to bring up. So we talk about Abreu, best pitcher in the bullpen. That's clearly stated at this point. That game on Wednesday told me that because it was hard to gauge who was going to sort of step up or who was going to actually have these consecutive. The bases loaded, no out jam to come in and get out of that against the Blue Jays. And he was facing their best hitters. It was like Springer, Bichette, and Guerrero. That's one thing I didn't bring up earlier, but to get through that proved to me he's the guy. Phil Maton very quietly goes out there. He hasn't allowed him to run all year. I mean, Phil Maton, and I hate to give him credit. Like, I don't want to be too early here because I've done this in the past. Phil Maton will go out there, have 2, 3, solid outings in a row, and it's like, hey, he looks good. And then he goes out there, gives up a big home run, and it's like, all right, never mind. So I hesitate to do that, but 9 games this year, 10 2/3 innings, 13 strikeouts. He hasn't allowed a run. Whips at .28. So Maton looking very good early on. He might figure himself into a later inning role if that's the case. But getting the win Friday after being down 4-1 was huge. Saturday they were down early again, but you had, 2-run home runs in the same inning, the 6th inning there by Alvarez again and Tucker. Those are your 2 big guys. They did allow 2 more in the bottom half to make it 4-3, but the Astros love those insurance runs, single runs in the 8th and 9th innings, win that 6-3. Abreu gets a save there. So Valdez not perfect, but quality. Valdez some credit there. As he went 7. Yeah, so see the starters get a little deeper, helps the bullpen obviously. That was the issue the first time around the rotation, but 7 innings, 8 hits, that's never good. I feel like Valdez has been a little high on the hits this year, so. But, 3 earned runs, that ERA raised to 2.25. Montero bouncing back, getting a solid inning, and then Abreu closing it out, 2 strikeouts. He looked nasty out there. And then yesterday, obviously, down again. Astros scored all their runs, it felt like 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th innings for a lot of their games, it seemed like this weekend. But, yeah, they were down 2-0. Things weren't looking great. And then the big 2-run Alvarez once again off AJ Minter, 2-run, bases loaded, 2 out, single. And then the big 3-run 9th inning to open it up, give them the lead. And Abreu again with the save. So Abreu might be down today just because Dusty Baker likes to make the bullpen to where nobody goes 3 days in a row. Don't like that philosophy, but that's the way he does it. But yeah, Javier, yesterday. Struck out 10 guys, got through 6. Only 1 or 2 runs, but 1 was earned. Javi, that's a good start. I'll take 6 innings, 2 runs, 1 was earned. So, but 3.21 Javier. Neris gets the win out of the bullpen. Maton again another scoreless inning, 2 strikeouts, very clean. Neris, clean inning, but no strikeouts, no nothing. He got the win, and then Abreu walked a guy, also struck out a guy, and got the save. So we'll see the way talked about Abreu possibly being the closer. I mean, he's I wouldn't be against that. Presley's always. Yeah, ideally, you'd like Presley to be your setup guy. You remember when they brought him over? It was back 2018, sounds like, was the year they brought him over. But that year, he was sort of the 8th inning guy. If it was Will Harris 7th, Presley 8th, you could really alternate either way there. But Will Harris, yeah, Presley, and it was sort of a combination of 18, was it Ken Giles? Or did they finally jump ship with him? But I remember Roberto Osuna as well. So, but yeah, ideally, I would be okay if they wanted to move Presley to 8 and have actually Bryan Abreu close out games. So I'd be completely okay with that. So, and it's good to be able to alternate the guys. When it comes to setup, I think Maton's going to get more high leverage opportunities. At least he's earned the right to get that. But again, I'm not sold on people like Neris and Montero yet. I mean, they gave Montero a lot of money to stick around for 3 more years, but we'll wait and see. But yeah, look at the standings. The Rangers have played pretty good baseball, so they still lead the division. Astros are in second by themselves, but Rangers 14-7, so we'll see how things shake out there. Obviously, Tampa Bay, we put today, 19-3. That is very good, and they've won 5 in a row. Astros have won 4 in a row, but going into Tampa, be interesting here. Be interesting. They don't have their best starters. Rays also have a streak. They've homered in every single game so far this year. So 22 straight games, they've homered in every single one. So they got a few streaks in the line. Hopefully we can break them. But yeah, I mean, 12-10. I'm last 2 years 11-11, 11-11. This year 1 game actually better. But if finally reeled off some wins, just got to try to keep doing it. Don't let Tampa Bay. I mean, listen. We'll see how things go this week. I like our chances. I do. I mean, I'm not trying to downplay Tampa Bay. I mean, you can't downplay a 19-3 record, 13-0 at home. I mean, you can't downplay that. I mean, they've been the best team in baseball easily by far of anybody. It's not even really close. I mean, Pittsburgh 16-7, so that's the second best team in baseball. No one would have expected that, but yeah, I'm not going to make this much longer. I know it can get super long. I didn't want to. I need to get this podcast out here in just a few minutes, but yeah, I know. Talking about Bregman, Abreu still needs to do more. I'd move him down in the order. DH him. I've talked about all that. Dubon, now a 17-game hitting streak, so that's something always to keep an eye on. And Dubon, I mean, he's come up, it feels like the last 3 games, and he gets his first hit like in the 8th, 9th inning. So he's really waiting for the last opportunity. But that's always a kind of a cool thing to watch, the hitting streak. I remember way back when it was Willie Taveras who had a hitting streak in the upper 20s before he finally couldn't do it. But that's always a fun thing to watch, so we'll continue to see that. But yeah, 5:40 start tonight. So 5:40, 5:40, 5:40 works well because I'll start my morning shift, or at least trying to go to bed a lot earlier starting Tuesday. But yeah, again, as I wrap this podcast up here, next week will be tough. I'll just state that. I'll try to get on Monday at some point. I mean, I'll be off at noon, but then I go to sleep, and then it's a struggle. I mean, this week starting Wednesday will be a struggle because it's morning. I even got up at 4. Actually, last night I didn't even go to sleep. I stayed up. I tried to go to sleep, thought I'd be able to, couldn't. But I went into work at 4. I only stayed for 2 hours. I was just trying to learn a few things before I take over for good. not for good, but for 2 weeks starting Wednesday. But I went in at 4, got off at 6 a.m., came home and went to sleep for 4 hours. So, but yeah, the fact I didn't get any sleep after I got off work last night was, yeah. Anyway, I won't bore you with my work life, but when I talk to you next time will be a little iffy. It could be 2 weeks for all I know. I really don't know at this point. I'll try to get on at some point. But yeah, my work schedule is going to be a little tough to maybe make that work. But I'm gonna try to find some time to do it. So ideally Monday. But if you don't see me for 2 weeks, just know I'm struggling with work. So anyway, wrap things up there. We'll talk to you next week.